Howdy, good evening, hello. Thanks very much for having me here. It's great to be here. There you go. Now you can hear me. Put all that glassware down. So I was watching Susie do what she does, and I figured the trick here is that if about every 8 seconds I say, in conclusion, she starts running up here. So I'm going to see how many times I can make Susie pop up from her chair. My name is J.B. Holston. It's great to be here tonight. I was recently appointed Dean of the Engineering School and School of Computer Science at the University of Denver. So if you're a University of Denver person, hooray. If you have engineering kids who want scholarships, find me. I'm also executive director of an initiative in town called the Blackstone Entrepreneurs Network, which I'm not going to talk about tonight because I'm here tonight as an alum of this organization. My company at the time was called NewsGator and was part of the, yeah, there you go. It's like somebody still has that RSS reader from 7 years ago, and I appreciate that. But our company was in the class of 2009, which was the first class for the Colorado Companies to Watch program. There were a number of other companies, there were 49 other companies, of course, that were awarded that year. Most of them are much less well-known than NewsGator, like OtterBox. OtterBox is a $1.3 billion company this year in Colorado, if you don't know. They were a Colorado company to watch in 2009. In 2009, the economic environment looked a little bit different than it does now. In fact, in 2009, the economic environment looked a lot like the weather in Denver last night. And I remember coming up here at that point with our team, and I remember how appreciative we all were that in that very dark time, we could be celebrated. Because running a business, starting a business, being an entrepreneur is really hard work. So before we go any further, everyone should applaud yourselves because you've done an unbelievable job to get here tonight. It's great to be back here. The environment is completely different, and I wanted to take a couple of minutes to talk about the environment that all of you are participating in Colorado. The governor mentioned some of these statistics. He was wrong about some of them, so I'll correct him since he's not here. So here are some facts about the Colorado that we're all participating in right now that I think we should remember as we do what we do because it's remarkable. I travel around the U.S. a great deal, and Colorado is extraordinarily unique, and we should appreciate that uniqueness. So here's some stats I'm going to throw out there for you to have with your Brussels sprouts. 4 of the 5 highest density entrepreneurial cities in the country, 4 out of the top 5 are in Colorado, okay? And which is phenomenal. 4 out of the 5 most entrepreneurially dense cities in the country are in Colorado. In Denver alone, there are 12,000 net in-migrants every year. What that means, these are folks, largely millennials, who come in with phenomenal credentials and are moving here because they want to be here. When I travel around, I don't know about you, but when I travel around, if I talk to anyone under 30, and I tell them I'm from Denver, the immediate response is, oh, I'm moving there. And I say, well, why are you moving here? I have no idea, but I'm moving to Denver. And it's easy to take for granted when you're here. It's a phenomenal fact. 70% of those folks moving here, those millennials moving here, self-identify as entrepreneurs. That's an amazing statistic. So 70% of those 12,000 folks moving here every year define themselves as entrepreneurs. Over 50% of those folks moving here come here without a job. That's unprecedented in history. It's never been the case that you've seen this kind of in-migration into an urban area like this when folks are coming without already having a job. But that's the environment that we live in. That's the environment that all of you have created. And they're looking for work, so hire them. We're one of the top 3 economies in the country. The governor did talk a little bit about this by almost any measure, certainly growth and other. The unemployment rate for the state of Colorado in March was 4.2%. I haven't seen the statistics yet. My bet is that for May we'll be under 4%. That's essentially full employment. That essentially means that everybody who wants a job in the state and is actually looking for one can find one. That's phenomenal. We have an extraordinarily diversified economy. That's very different from where we were 20 years ago. It's really different from where we were 7 years ago when I was standing up here as well. And again, we should celebrate that. If you look at the list of the companies that are here tonight, and you think about the diversity of industries that y'all represent, it's unbelievable. And they're also phenomenally reflective of the culture of Colorado, which is great. 20 years ago, our economy was pretty much dependent on telecom, cable, and oil and gas. If one of those sectors went down, everybody went down. Now we have an unbelievable amount of energy in a phenomenal array of kinds of industries. I'll just give you a couple of pieces of data that you may not know. There are 160 digital health startups in Colorado. There were 10, yeah, there you go. And there's one over there, I'm sure. There were possibly 10 2.5 years ago. So there are 160 companies in this emerging sector called digital health. We have 4 cybersecurity companies in the state that are private, each of which could go public sometime in the next 18 months, each of which, when they go public, would have a market cap of at least $1 billion. So here's a sector that didn't exist as a sector a decade ago, where Colorado has 4 unicorns, or as the governor calls them, pronghorns with this horn sticking out of the front. Private companies that are valued over $1 billion that are right here in the state. Now, one of the things that we've learned through the Blackstone project, and one of the things that I think will probably not be an issue tonight, is Colorado does a really, really bad job patting themselves on the back. We're just not good at it. We don't even humble brag. We don't have a lot of chutzpah, as my Israeli VC friends say. That has to change. We have to all celebrate the great stories that are here. We have to share those stories. And you folks are a large part of those stories. So the economic environment in Colorado has changed dramatically from where it was 20 years ago, from where it was 7 years ago. All of it is wonderful. Part of the reason for that is phenomenal alignment. When we started the Blackstone thing, we had Senator Bennett, who was kind of the godfather of the effort. He probably wouldn't appreciate being referred to as that, but he was. The governor was very involved as well. We had a number of other government officials as well. Blackstone manages about $320 billion in assets, so they're a fairly small player on the private equity side. But when their senior folks came out here and met with the governor and the senator and a number of the rest of us, one of the things they observed is that this is the most aligned. I can hear myself twice now. That's probably better, right? One of the things they observed is that this is the most aligned state in which they do business in the country. Now, $320 billion in assets, it means they do business in every state in the country. What they meant by that is that whether it's government officials, whether it's academia, I am now a dean, people call me dean, I have no idea what they're talking about, and then I have to turn around and realize it's me. Academia, business, small business, large business, entrepreneurial businesses, tech or other, everyone is aligned around a few fundamental values. Entrepreneurship, innovation, give before you get, to quote Brad Feld, and pay it forward. We all need to understand how unique in the US this collection of facts, this environment is. We're incredibly fortunate. And it's really different from when I was standing up here 7 years ago, hoping that we'd be able to pay the bills, let me rephrase that, hoping that our bankers would still be there, kind of, when we were done with the award ceremony. So things have changed. They've changed in a wonderfully positive way. When we won the award in 2009, some of your companies had been in business for decades. Others were putting together a business plan. Some of you were thinking about starting your business. Some of the folks in this audience, including I think Sam Bailey, were in grade school. Some of you have been around for a long period of time, but you're still extraordinarily innovative, extraordinarily entrepreneurial. And it's that energy which is fundamental to what makes Colorado such a success. It's also why we can have, I don't know how many folks are out here. Could somebody tell me we have like 800 people here tonight, something like that? 800. That's a pretty good guess. We have about 800 of you here tonight. It's because as a community, everyone understands that sharing to gain is the way forward for all of us here. These statistics were mentioned before. I'm going to mention them again. All of you, all the companies represented in this room, employ about 2,000 folks right now. We asked you how many folks you expected to employ by the end of the year. Collectively, you said that you intended to grow your employment by 30%. Okay? That's another 600 families in Colorado employed by you folks, It's another 600 families whose kids are now going to be able to get the higher education that they want. It's another 600 families who are on a path toward a great economic future due to the work that you're doing. We can't all be Otterbox, Justin's Nut Butter, Osprey Packs. We can all use those products. We can't all be those companies. But we can all participate in this last fact about Colorado that I wanted to share. One of the things that makes this state extraordinarily unique is that we have this incredibly rich ecosystem that is extraordinarily supportive of innovators and entrepreneurs. So I'm just going to throw some more statistics out at you before dessert arrives. There are over 50 accelerators and incubators in Denver alone. In Fort Collins, how many of you have heard of the Blue Ocean Challenge up in Fort Collins? So, you should. In Fort Collins, there's an initiative called the Blue Ocean Challenge, which is part of Fort Collins Startup Week, which happened last week. It celebrates great startups in the Fort Collins and Longmont region. That program was started by the founders of Otterbox. So this whole incubation accelerator kind of phenomenon has spread well beyond Boulder to much of the rest of the state as well. We've got in other parts of the state great phenomenal success stories like in Durango, Mercury Payments. Mercury Payments was a small e-commerce firm 15 years ago. It sold last year for $1.85 billion out of Durango. E-commerce. It's happening everywhere in the state. We've got initiatives throughout the state, which if you don't know about, you should. We've got the Blackstone Entrepreneurs Network. We've got the National Center for Women in Technology out of CU, which is the center for that topic in the country. It's hosted by CU. We have accelerators like Merge Lane, which is a Techstars for women-led, women-owned companies as well. There are a phenomenal number of great elements to this ecosystem that are designed to support all the great companies that are emerging here. You should take part. So I'm going to leave it with one request. I'm going to make it two. The first request, which was going to be the second, but now I made it the first, and I'm just testing you to see if you're still listening. So the first request is, if you haven't already, find time to get more involved in the ecosystem. There are a million ways to do it. One of the easiest is to get involved with the alumni network. Greg and Brian are right there. You can grab them afterwards. Absolutely get involved. That is an incredibly rich way to get a huge return on no investment. So spend time in the alumni network. But more to the point, think about things that you can do to help our economy in ways that our economy needs now. One of the biggest issues that we're facing here in Denver and throughout the state is inequality. In Denver, 40% of Denver renters earn less than $30,000 a year, okay? So while we're celebrating growth, economic prosperity, all of these kinds of opportunities, understand that there are folks that you could probably get involved with your company in some fashion who don't have an on-ramp to economic success. So the first thing I'd ask is find some way to give them that on-ramp. Find somebody in your community from a family that may be a little disadvantaged. Have them be an intern, a fellow, work for you for the summer. Find 5, 10. I know a lot of you already do that. You should do more. The other thing I'd ask is mentor someone. It is still the case that unemployment for folks 18 to 25 in this country is 17%. One of the things that we can do better than any other is adopt someone who's looking for their first job, give them a great on-ramp to a great career. Okay? Do those two things. The third thing, the most important, keep doing exactly what you're doing. You should know that for all the travails and the hail and the loneliness and the stress, your work is actually the dream that all Americans dream. I wanted to thank everyone that's put this program together. And Susie, I really am now concluding. Thanks very much. This is a great program, and have a great evening.